Yo, what's going on, y'all? Sorry I'm late. I got caught up trying to handle some business and didn't realize the time. But hey, that's what happens when you're a one-man band. All right, so anyway, today I want to talk about black folks and why they feel like they need white acceptance. Now, white people, it's not about you. So before you get on here and start bugging out, talking about I'm trying to preach hate and discontent and all that bullshit, no, that's not what this is. All right? Now, hold on here. Let me get set up here because I was all prepared for this earlier. All right, so in fact, all right. So anyway, we're talking about white acceptance today. Why do black people want it, and do we even need it? Now, black people need to stop begging for white acceptance and start focusing on power. Because once we gain power, whether they like us or not, will be irrelevant because they cannot harm us once we have power. And one of the things that always bothered me was that black folks were always protesting, always marching, wanting equal rights, this, that, or the other. And I really don't think that, why? Really, why? We have the economic power to do everything that we want. We have the knowledge, we have the skills, we have plenty of people in plenty of different industries to be able to do whatever it is that we want within the black community. For example, last year, the Oscars, or this past year, or this year actually, earlier this year, the Oscars was being protested by a lot of black actors because they felt like there weren't enough or there were no black nominees for a lot of the top spots or big movies this year at the Oscars. My thing is, so what? We have plenty enough actors. We have plenty enough producers and directors, fans, so forth and so on, to create our own awards show. Why do we have to be accepted into an organization that doesn't want us? I could care less if the Oscars ever nominated a black actor. I really don't care. Because I feel like black folk has enough at their disposal to be able to recognize and honor our own. Some of the greatest actors in the industry are black. Denzel Washington, Cicely Tyson, just to name a few. I can't name them all. But the fact is, we have enough, and we have enough people behind the scenes in production, and there's definitely plenty of black fans out there to support us. Hence, we wouldn't have success stories like Tyler Perry. Believe me, Tyler Perry's early audience was all black. You remember the days when he was pushing those videotapes around, those VHS tapes, and everybody in the black community was bootlegging those damn tapes. Of course, Tyler wasn't making no money off of that shit because they were bootlegged so bad in the hood, but got him noticed. You know what I'm saying? And look at where he is now. But the fact remains that we have enough of our own to not have to be fighting and protesting and all of this nonsense to be accepted into an organization that does not want us in it. Okay? Plain and simple. We don't need to be accepted by the Oscars. We can create our own. Music shows, for example, there's the Grammys, there's the American Music Awards, there's the BET Hip Hop Music Awards. You know, of course, BET is no longer black owned since Bob Johnson sold the company a few years back. But the bottom line is, when there wasn't an outlet for us, Bob Johnson created one for us. MTV used to be the thing. You had to get your video on MTV if you were anybody in the record industry. If you wanted to be recognized, you know, if your video was on MTV back in the day, you made it. But there wasn't many black videos. There weren't a lot of black videos until towards the end, when MTV started transitioning from not MTV but reality TV. But BET came along, and then there were more black musicians being showcased, and that went on for a lot of years. BET was the spot. MTV tried to catch up. They came up with Yo MTV Raps and all of that, you know, and it was hot. Yo MTV Raps was a dope show. I watched it, you know, but the thing was, we were still being overlooked, you know, when it came time for recognition and accolades, so forth and so on. So Black Entertainment Television was created. And not just for the music industry, but it was created to showcase black achievement in film and television as well. We can still do that. In fact, it's easier now for us to do that because of the technology that's available to us, the internet. Hence why I do this thing. I know I'm not the best broadcaster. I'm not the best speaker. But this is mine. I'm doing this. And I can do it my way. And hopefully people will start to watch, start to pay attention, and start to realize that just like I'm doing something on my own, you can do it too. I don't need anybody to accept me where I'm not wanted. So I'm not going to be protesting. I'm not going to be marching. I'm not going to be trying to kick down the doors to force somebody to let me in when I can just build my own. And that's the bottom line. You have, say, for instance, here's another example. Say there's a restaurant in your area that says no black folks allowed. Now, as soon as some shit like that happens, black folks want to be the first ones out there protesting and screaming and crying and talking about get them out of here and discrimination and this, that, or the other. But really, why do you want to force somebody to let you into something that you're not wanted? I don't want to eat at a restaurant that says no blacks allowed. But I'm not going to try to put them out of business either, because quite honestly, I could go open a restaurant and say, hey, no white folks allowed, or no Asians allowed, or no Latinos allowed. Just because somebody doesn't want to socialize or be involved with you does not make it a bad thing. I happen to be one of those that thinks segregation is a good thing. But let segregation be a choice. Not forced segregation, but segregation by choice, in my opinion, is just fine. Hey, if I don't want to hang with this group of people, I'm not going to hang with them. And if I know that, that's a particular area that they like to go to and they like to swing at, then hey, go ahead and do your thing. I'm not going to socialize with that group in that area. I'm going to go over here. You know what I'm saying? The only time where I think that it should be regulated is in public areas. But personally, I don't feel like a place of business is public. I still feel like a place of business is private property. Your business may be open to the public, but I really don't have a problem with a business that says, hey, I only want to cater to this particular group of people or these people here. I have no problem with that. We do that anyway. Businesses by nature actively seek out certain types of customers, certain types of clientele. It's just masked in other things such as upscale clientele, and whatever. You got different demographics that are put together and say, okay, I want to go after the urban demographic, or I want to, my products and services are marketed to the middle class, whatever. So we already segregate ourselves in a class structure. It's upper, middle, and lower. If you don't have enough money, you damn sure can't hang with the upper class. And if you have no money, you can't hang with the middle class. Now, granted, I feel like everybody should have the opportunity, but one of the things that we do as people is when we can't participate in something because of economics or our financial status or whatever, we try to force our way in. We try to protest and either put them out of business or have our lawmakers make laws that forces them to allow this, that, or the other. There's certain things that need to be regulated. Education. Everybody should have access to the same education. I believe that. That's why I can't understand why certain school districts around the country are better funded than others. I can understand because, certain cities just attract more business and there's more money flowing through. However, when you're in the same town, I can't understand why in the public school system, certain schools get more funding than other schools, but they're all within the same ecosystem. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand why we're still busing students across the fucking county so that they can go to this particular school because this particular school is better. Why is that particular school better? They're in the same school district. So, in my opinion, all the schools within the same school district should be not only on the same page, but have equal access to the same funds. Now, granted, larger schools are going to require more money than smaller schools. However, if the funds were managed properly, I think every school in the district would have enough money and we wouldn't have to be busing our students all over the damn place saying, for this false sense of creating culturally diverse schools. Because there's enough black folks, white folks, Hispanic folks living in damn near every community now that we shouldn't have to be busing kids all over the place because the law says, well, you got to have a certain number of black students here and a certain number of Latinos, so forth and so on. So we're gonna, no, fuck that. Make sure all the schools are funded properly. Pay the fucking teachers what they deserve to get paid for watching our badass kids. You know what I'm saying? And then we won't have this problem, you know. And quite honestly, a lot of black kids don't want to go to schools with a lot of white kids. It's not saying they don't like them. It's not saying that you know, that they're prejudiced or hating each other. It's just a simple fact that people like to be with their own. That's just the way it is. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody says anything to the Jewish people. Jewish people stick together like hands in gloves. Nobody says anything to them because they like to keep their communities all Jewish. You go to the store, you got certain foods that are kosher foods. Yeah, you have your ethnic aisles, you know, in the grocery stores, so forth and so on. But the bottom line is this: there's nothing wrong with people wanting to separate themselves, you know, as racial groups or social economic groups or whatever. People want to stick together, let them stick together. So the bottom line is this: black folks, why is it that you're always protesting for white acceptance? Why? What is that going to do for you as a person because a group of white folks over here has now accepted you into their circle? Some of you say, well, you know what? You know, they're rich, they're affluent. You know, I want to rub elbows with them, but we got plenty of rich, affluent black folks. So why don't you try to rub elbows with the rich and affluent black folks? If we have gated communities and these gated communities say, hey, you know, we don't want those people here. We don't want black people in our community. I see nothing wrong with that. And I'm not going to try to force my way into a neighborhood that doesn't want me there. I grew up in New Jersey, you know, and we were ethnically diverse in the neighborhood that I lived in. It was predominantly black, but we had some white people living there. We had a lot of Latinos and Latinas living there, you know. But the city had certain areas where mostly Italians lived in. They had certain areas where mostly Polish people lived in. And I still see it now, even right here in South Florida. I see areas where Haitian people live together, you know, in one area. Jamaicans live in a certain area, you know. And hey, you know, if as far as I'm concerned, if a group of people got together and bought up a bunch of houses and put a wall up and say, hey, this is only for us, I have no problem with that. I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't need to be accepted by white people. I don't need to be accepted by Latin people. I don't need to be accepted by anybody other than me. I need to accept the fact that I am me. I need to be comfortable in my skin and feel like, hey, wherever I go, I'm going to go. And if I'm not welcome, I'm not going to go there anymore. That's the bottom line. Unless it's public property. But private property, I am not about to force my way into somebody's private areas just because I'm all pissed off or whatever because they don't like black folks. I could care less. If you don't like me, that's fine. I can't control people's feelings and thoughts and emotions. I can't make somebody like me by having laws passed. Laws don't make people's hearts change, or laws don't change people's thinking. That All laws really do is force people to do things that they don't want to fucking do. That's real. So again, we as black folks, we gotta stop begging for white acceptance. Okay? We need to focus on the economic power that we have within our community. We need to support black businesses, and we need to do everything that we can to uplift our own community. Spend black, okay? Support black business at every opportunity. And that's not to say that we should support a black business just because they're black. Oh, hell no. We need to support the ones that are providing great service and great products to the community. And if they're not supporting great service and great products to the community, just don't spend your money with them. But it's a damn shame, like even in my business here at the recording studio, okay? I get white clients that come in, never have a problem, never argue about the price. They do ask me if I have any deals. Sometimes I have deals, sometimes I don't. But it's never, let me get the hookup, my brother, and none of that bullshit. But every time I get a black client in, and every time I get a black client in, they're looking for the hookup. No, I lied. There's been a few that haven't, but they were other business owners. So they understand that, hey, we're in business. This is what we do for a living. I'm going to come to your business. I'm going to respect your price structure. If you have sales going on, great. If you got deals going on, great. But if you don't, I'm not going to sit here and try to beat you up about your pricing. And I don't do it either. If I walk into an establishment, I don't care if it's black, white, or otherwise. If they have what I need, I'm going to pay the price. If I don't like the price, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to look around until I find a better price. But if I can't find a better price, then guess what? I got to buy it at whatever they're selling it for. I've never walked into a black business, though, and expecting to get a hookup just because I was black. That's just damn outright disrespectful, quite honestly. But it happens so much, with our people that it's almost impossible to do business with other black folks. And I hate to say that, but it's true. You know it. A lot of you out there know it. And so it is what it is, I guess. But black folks, stop begging for white acceptance. If they don't want you there, don't go there. Build your own. We can build our own movie studios. Tyler Perry did it. We can build our own television networks. Oprah did it. Bill Cosby tried to buy NBC, but they brought him down, begging for white acceptance. Bill Cosby should have just taken his money and started his own damn network. O.J. Simpson lived his life begging for white acceptance. Then they quickly showed him how black his ass was. Because the juice used to be their token nigger for a long time. Then when it was alleged that the juice killed that white girl and that white boy, he's the most hated man alive. Think about that shit, black folks. And I'm not saying all white people are the devil either. So again, like I said, for all my white friends out there, before y'all start emailing me and texting me and calling me up, talking about, yo, Ken, man, I didn't know you were like that. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. I'm just saying that my people need to stop begging for acceptance from your people. That's all. We have the talent, we have the knowledge, we have the know-how to build our own infrastructure and prosper and be just as successful and well off as any other white person in the world. Because not all white folks are rich either. So don't get it twisted, again, with these general characterizations that some of y'all throw at me every time I talk about the subject. I know there's a lot of poor ass white folks out there. I know there's a lot of white folks out there struggling to pay their bills every day, just like there's a lot of black folks out here. But we got to keep it really real, too. There are advantages to being white in this country. There are, whether you want to admit it or not. There are advantages to being white in the world. That's just a fact. But other ethnic groups have found a way to get around those advantages by sticking together, by pooling their money together and building their own financial infrastructures within their own communities. And that's something that black folks don't do. It happens on a small scale, in some communities across the country, but it needs to happen on a much larger scale. We need to support black businesses every day. We need to do everything we can to start building infrastructure within our communities. We need to start teaching our young people how to grow businesses, how to invest, how to manage money, how to simply just be polite to each other. Because that's something else too that is real crazy within the black community. Black folks are mad, walking around with chips on their shoulders. We all are. I do too. It's in our DNA though. We were just talking the other day about, why is it that there's so many black folk have such a hatred for authority, for the police and for bosses. Why is it when a bunch of black folks get together to try to do business, everybody wants to be a boss, but nobody wants to be an Indian. Nobody wants to be a worker. No offense to the Indians. That's not how I meant it, so relax. But it's in our DNA. Because we've been stepped on and oppressed for so long that now when somebody is placed in a position of authority over us, even though us current black folks, even though we haven't experienced slavery, like our ancestors did, but we're in a mental form of slavery. And we feel like, hey, you ain't the boss in me. You follow what I'm saying? It's ingrained in our biology, to buck authority. It's amazing, that the psychological effects of slavery has carried on for 100 years or so after slavery's been abolished. But that's what William Lynch said would happen way back in the 1800s, or was it the 1700s? I forget. But way back when he gave that speech to the American slave owners about how they could control their slaves for the next 1,000 years. they did a mental a brain fuck on us way back then. So even though laws abolished slavery, the mental damage was done. The psychological warfare continued. And so what was done over the last 400 years ain't going to be undone in just a few years. Not even just a couple of decades. It's going to take 400 years to fix. But we got to start fixing it now, man. We got to change the way we think, change the way we do things. Stop begging people to give us shit. We can be winners, but it's up to us. White people ain't going to come rescue us. Latin people ain't going to come rescue us. Asian people are not going to come rescue us. We got to rescue us. There ain't going to be no boat coming over from Africa to rescue us. Hell, a lot of them are fucked up over there. But we got access to resources. We got access to things right now that will allow us to overcome 400 years of physical and psychological warfare that was waged against our race. It was waged against our people for so many years. We're not stupid. We have the technology, we have the knowledge, we have the know-how to overcome everything that is oppressing us now. Because quite actually, right now, black folks, we're our own worst enemies now. As many of you may or may not know, I did a little mentoring here in the community here in South Florida where I live at. And I learned a lot of interesting things from these young men that I was working with. Some of them are still in contact with me too. And we still talk, they still call me for advice on certain things. And I think it's awesome because some of them are really trying to change their lives. A lot of them are still living wild out there though. They're in survival mode all the time. They don't know when they're going to eat. They don't know where they're going to sleep. They don't know if they're going to catch a bullet today or tomorrow or the next day. But what I found was that they were so psychologically damaged that they didn't even know who the real enemy was. They're out here in the streets gunning at each other. Black men killing black men. Children killing children. But then as soon as they were arrested or they were caught for a shooting or they were caught for doing some sort of a robbery or whatever, first thing out of their mouth was, the crackers out to get me. And crackers chased me all over the hood and they banned me, and now, they really trying to ban me hard, and I'm like, wait a minute, you did this shit to yourself. But it's not because, I don't think it's because a lot of them want to. I don't think a lot of these kids want to live the life that they live. They definitely, nobody wants to live a miserable ass life in the projects. But you know what? The projects don't have to be the projects. Projects can be just as beautiful as any other gated community if the people living there would take the time to just focus on making their areas look nice. See, these are the little things that we can do as a black community to improve our situation, but it's going to take time. The problem is a lot of us want now. We want it right now. We don't want to wait. But you got a lot of cats out here in the streets hustling, doing dirt, walking around with a lot of money in their pocket that they can't spend legally nowhere. They can't invest it because they're not paying taxes on the money. They're not doing the things that they need to do in society to set themselves up in a proper manner to be able, to move right. So it's like a self-destructive cycle that they're in. Yeah, a lot of them, they're in the streets making money, but they can't do nothing with the money because they didn't get it legally. But nobody wants to go get a legal job because you don't make the money fast enough at a legal job. Again, we want it now. We want it right now. Nobody, but they say, I'm going to hustle hard and I'm in the struggle. All right. Struggle legally. What's the difference? I'd rather struggle legally, stay out of prison. I don't have people trying to shoot me at every turn. Invest my money, however little I may have to invest, and grow wealth over time. Because that's what it's going to take for us as a black community to dig ourselves up out of this hole. It's going to take time. It's not going to take acceptance by white people. It's not going to take somebody coming in and holding our hands and all of us sitting around the bonfire singing Kumbaya, talking about we shall overcome. That's not going to get it. That's not going to win the race. We got to get up off our asses. Got to get our fucking minds right. We got to learn. We got to learn how to invest. We got to clean up our communities. We got to teach the young people coming up behind us. Only we can save us. That's the way it has to be. All right, so black people, stop looking for white acceptance. It ain't coming. And even if it were, how could we expect them to accept us if we don't accept our damn selves? I'm your boy Ken Jackson. This has been the Ken Jackson Show. I'll see you next time. Tomorrow, maybe. I don't know. Depends on how I'm feeling. No, I'm going to be back tomorrow. We're going to talk. Peace.